Let me tell you a little bit about the voting data. There is some new actual data. The turnout is pretty big for early voting.
Incredible, I would say.
Incredible. Okay, so because we're comparing this now to a presidential election.
Yeah.
Okay, so Democrats, 57% in California. This is in 2020. 57% at this point had put, that was the balance of the ballots that were coming in.
The ballots were coming in, 57 from registered Democrats.
Right. 22% from registered Republicans. This time, 49% are from Democrats and 27% are from Republicans. Now, this doesn't mean anything other than, I think that Republicans are less likely to vote early, usually.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So we've had candidates, encouraging them not to, right? Where Democrats are always encouraged to get out there, get that vote in early.
Correct.
And there's advantages to campaigns for doing this, right? It means you don't, not only do you get the vote and lock it in, you also don't have to spend resources on trying to get that person out on a specific day. It's a massive advantage to get your people to vote early. Right.
Florida, 51% Democrat at this time in 2020. Today, it is 42%. That's down 9 percentage points. The last time for Republicans, Florida, 29%. This time, 39%. So the spread is what interests me. You're a guy who loves stats. Does that spread mean anything?
It means something, but it's important not to read too much into it. Early voting data is known to be, at times, misleading when you're trying to draw grand conclusions out of it. There are a lot of different factors.
I'm only drawing from that we are engaged more than they are at this point, that we are more excited about going out and voting, more motivated to go out and vote than they are. And if that continues all the way through, that's a really good sign.
That would be a great sign.
Yeah.
Again, it's just early.
Yeah.
I think you can take this as an indication that something like this might be happening.
Correct.
You can't say it's a point of data, not an entire story.
Okay, so there's another poll. This comes out from the New York Times. Okay, New York Times poll asked respondents to select one of the two following statements that is aligning closest to your view, even if they don't match exactly. American democracy is currently under threat. American democracy is not currently under threat. 71% say we are under threat. 21% say no. The poll then took the 71% who thought it was under threat and said, where is the threat coming from? Republicans, major threat, 28%, minor threat, 39, not a threat, 29. So the Republicans are a threat to the Republic. Major threat, 28%. Minor threat, 39. Democrats are a real threat. Major threat, 33. Minor threat, 30. Not a threat, 34%. Not a threat for Democrats or for Republicans was 29.
So basically about equal.
Yes.
Both sides are saying the other are threats, which shouldn't surprise you.
No.
But when you need to read into this a little further.
Yeah, well, save that because I want to give you the rest. Donald Trump, major threat, 45%. Minor threat, 22%. Not a threat, 31%. Joe Biden, major threat, 38%. Minor threat, 22%. Not a threat, 37%. So not that far off of Donald Trump. Isn't that interesting? Mainstream media, a major threat, 59%. Minor threat, 25%. Not a threat, 15%. That's incredible.
Yeah, this is a really interesting narrative that's developed over the past month or two, which is the Democrats believed, looking at polling like this, that so many people thought democracy was in trouble that if they ran on January 6th, people would run to them And it's not an insane viewpoint from their view, right? Like we saw what happened on January 6th. People didn't like it. They think democracy's in trouble. And let's build that up. Let's talk. Let's have these hearings in prime time. Let's launch new hearings when we even have nothing. Let's make everything about Donald Trump. Understandable.
I think in 2008 that would have been absolutely the thing to do and would have won. But because we had gone through a year of setting cities on fire with nothing
in 2008.
In 2008, if it would have happened, if somebody would have stormed the Capitol in 2008, it would. I mean,
people would have been.
People would have paid attention and went, "Whoa!" But because we had cities on fire and the government did nothing, we weren't as shocked when people stormed the Capitol. We all saw it and went, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible."
That's an interesting point.
But it lowered and then gave the equivocation of, wait a minute. You didn't do anything here. You're doing something here. And these people have a reason to be pissed. I mean, it just gave all new wrinkles in the argument that hadn't been there 10, 15 years before.
Yeah. And I think the two things the Democrats didn't really understand when they saw this polling early on was while there is real concern for quote unquote democracy in our country, there are much bigger concerns, right? People are much more concerned about the economy and inflation and crime and the border and many other things than democracy as a voting issue. And number two, they didn't realize that half the people saying they thought democracy under threat believed the Democrats were the threat. They were the ones who were the problem here. It wasn't that everyone thought democracy was under threat because of January 6th or because of Donald Trump. Many of them believe there were problems with the election. Many of them see what is going on when, Republicans are being investigated by the IRS, for example. All the corruption and massive problems that have gone on, even outside of the electoral process, just the way the country is run. And so while it motivates and animates at some level, it's not the top of the mind issue. And also there's half of the country who see what, let's say, the left is doing with the January 6th commission and say, you're the ones doing this. You're the ones violating the rules of our democracy. So they really invested a lot of resources in this, and it's fallen on its face.
Well, I find it amazing. Mainstream media, major threat, almost 60%, 59%, minor threat, 25%, not a threat, 15%. 15%, that's about, I think, the number of people that work for the federal government and the mainstream media. I mean, that is amazing.
It's really bad.
That's amazing. One more thing.
Yeah.
Also from the New York Times, they ranked major issues by importance. Let's see. Economy was 26, inflation 19.
And they split those two, but that's the same issue. Right. We're talking, that's 45% saying it's the top issue. It's incredible. That's incredibly high.
Now, here's what also is interesting to me. Trump, Republicans, and crime are in a three-way tie with climate change. I don't believe this poll. Crime is tied with Trump, Republicans, and climate change? Crime? You're only going to get climate change and Trump, Republicans. You get each side, or you get double, because climate change is really important and Trump Republicans are really important. But crime, you get both parties saying crime.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is I think the way the poll is phrased is top issue. Is that right? Not just is it an issue, but is it your top issue? So I think a lot of people who might say crime or might say the border are instead saying economy or inflation.
You're right. I would say, because it's number 3 on my list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you have economy, inflation, the state of democracy, immigration, then climate change with Trump, Republicans, and crime. So.
And where was abortion again?
Abortion was fifth. 4%.
So think about what they've invested in here.
I know.
The democracy thing, which is not paying off at all.
The Trump Republicans.
The Trump Republicans thing, which is not paying off at all. And abortion. They've funneled all the resources, and now there's pretty significant evidence that independent women are turned off by all of this abortion focus. It's like, wait a minute. I'm talking about independent pro-choice women who are saying, well, pro-choice it's an important issue for me. But guys, I got to pay my bills. I got to be able to afford bread.
Right.
They're seeing this as like, wait a minute, you're focusing on that in this time? I think it's important too, and I want to fight for it. But wait a minute, like I can't get my kids to school because gas is $5 a gallon.
This is the number one thing. I mean, the number one lesson from political campaigns in my lifetime has been the economy. The economy. People look at their pocketbook first when things are going badly.
It's James Carville.
Yeah, it's the economy stupid, but it was before that too.
Yeah, no,
if things are going poorly for the average person, the party in charge is not going to do well. How they have, maybe because they just knew the economy wasn't going to do well because we're dismantling it. We're just dismantling it.
Yeah, and I think people a lot of times look at the economy as, oh gosh, people just care about money. No. The economy is your entire pragmatic life. It's right.
It's your family.
It's everything. It's your entire existence, right? It's if you have enough money, you can do the things that you want to do. You can spend your time pursuing the happiness you want to pursue. There's a reason why people like getting rich. Well, it's not just because they want shiny things.
It's not even rich.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that this is why people pursue it.
I know.
Not because they want shiny things in their apartment or diamonds. That's all nice. But of course, what it is you're able to do the things you want to do, that you believe in, that you think are important, to spend time with your kids instead of busting your butt at a second job. All these things are crucial to people's lives. And while, yes, I don't know what the max is, Glenn. Maybe there's some liberals in our audience that can answer this. How many abortions can you have in a year? How many abortions are you going to have in a lifetime? Even if you really love abortion, how many times are you going through that? A couple? I guess you could have I don't know how many per week you can have, but I know how many times I go to the grocery store every week.
Yeah.
I know how many times I go to the gas pump every week. You're doing this all the time. These are things that affect your daily life. And while you might think abortion is again, I do not support this view, but you might think, hey, this is a good get-out-of-jail-free card that I might use once in my life in a tough spot.
Can I tell you something? This is a bad way to put it, but this is what I think you're going for. It's horrible to say this, but it's a luxury item. You know what I mean? It's not a necessity for most
to end the life
people.
of a child.
Yeah,
yes, it's not
for
a
most people. They're not
right.
It's like you said, get out of jail free card. It's something that some people look at as a way out of a problem. Mm-hmm. So that's a luxury item.
Right. And we know half the country doesn't agree with it at all.
At all.
Half of the country are males. So you're talking about, let's say, 25% of the country that would even consider at any point getting an abortion. And then you got to eliminate that to the people who would actually do it. So what are you at? 5% of the nation? Now, I'm not saying that's it's not an important issue, but it goes back to quickly how Stacey Abrams talked about this the other day. In their minds, you can abort your way out of inflation.
Yeah.
You can abort your way into a good economy. That's a totally different view than the average person.
I have to tell you, you lost me at men can't have babies.